Welcome to The Longer Game, the only show that's dedicated to the future of retail. We bring on real-life people in the retail industry. We talk about their experiences, we share their stories, we apply it to what's currently going on in the market, and we look towards the future of retail. You could say it's Retail Reimagined. My name is Michael Marr. I run a customized, done-for-you service agency called Cartology that helps brands win on Amazon. Now, while my expertise stems in the Amazon field, we bring on a wide array of guests because retail is expansive. You've got e-commerce. Yes, you've got marketplaces like Amazon. You've also got brick and mortar that is evolving. You've got logistics. You've got technology, finance. There are so many aspects to retail, and it's complicated. So we're here to bring you the entire story. Do you think that you have an interesting story and you'd like to tell it on the podcast? Then go to thelongergame.com and fill out a form to be a guest on the show today. You can catch The Longer Game on any social channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our website, thelongergame.com. We've got all awesome guests on this show, so that I will promise. Are you ready to hear more about the future of retail? Let's get down to business. All right, everybody, welcome to The Longer Game. We are in season 2. We are talking to all different kinds of people, but we're talking about retail, the future of retail. What does that look like? It is always changing. I know the field that I'm in of Amazon is always changing, but retail is no different, especially over the past couple of years. Things have changed dramatically. So with that, I have a great guest on our podcast today on this episode. Her name is Ofra Nissani. She is I almost messed that up. Well, I did mess it up, but I'm recovering. She is a business coach and advisor to small businesses with the business Coach My Business, believe it or not. So Ofra, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit more about what you do at Coach My Business.
Sure. So thanks for having me, Michael. I'm happy to be here. I love talking retail, so this is a great space for me too. So Coach My Business is a business I founded to help business owners, small business owners. I do specialize in retail because that's my background, and I have over 20 years of brick and mortar experience. But I know that there's a demand for retailers and also business owners who are small businesses that just need to have somebody to work with that has experience maybe in their field or just in general small business. So I recognize this over the pandemic that there really is a demand because so many people were coming to me and asking me for advice. And I naturally thought this is something, it took a couple of years, but it turned into something. And I'm grateful to be doing this and excited to be here.
Ofra, we had someone on the show last or the episode that will air before this, who also, is involved in retail. And I asked him a question that I'm curious to get your feedback on as well. And that is, what do you think brands or people, since it's ultimately people anyway, that go into business, when they're wanting to get into retail, what is one of the biggest things that they overlook or that they don't consider?
It depends. What I want to address with that is, are they coming from is this a new brand, or are they coming from online to offline? With that in mind, I would say if that's where they're coming from, I think it's more than just social media is what I wanted to say. And I really think you need to utilize your space and get really acquainted with retail. I think everybody just sort of assumes retail is just like this kind of a formula that really has never changed, but it's ever evolving and it's always changing, and you need to change with it. So I think that would probably be my best kind of piece of advice for any brand that's getting into that space of being involved in retail. It's always changing and you need to be in the know.
Man, change is it is nonstop. I'm experiencing change in my organization, and the thing that I tell people is, change is going to happen whether you want it to or not. Mm-hmm. You have an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to grow, I'm going to learn here, or I just want to stay the same and essentially, die, not physically die, but, change or die is the way that it goes. So it's good to know that change is consistent across, different industries. From an Amazon perspective, there are, new reports that come out, new features that come out, and people have to scramble to figure out how are we going to best utilize this. And in some cases, it takes a while to actually figure out how this is going to work really well. A great example of that is Amazon Business. there's a huge opportunity. I know Jeff Bezos has talked about, I don't know him personally, by the way, but he's talked about how there's a big opportunity with B2B sales on Amazon. I don't think they've really unlocked that, though. They haven't really figured it out. People are utilizing it, but there's still a lot of room to grow. They spent a ton of years on that, whereas something like premium A+ content has been available to mostly first-party retailers, people that are on Amazon's retail side, and they have now opened it up to a lot more people and offered it for free based on a couple of stipulations, and that's really been widely used, and it looks great. So it just kind of depends upon the offering and what it is, but yeah, change is just it's constant.
It's evolution, and you can either accept it or decline it. And if you accept it, you're going to be successful. If you decline, then you're going to fall behind, and you're going to be like that dinosaur in the industry, right? And just in reference to Amazon, I think that's a really good point, because it's difficult to take a retail platform like that, an online retail platform, and just move everybody towards B2B and just think that that's naturally going to happen because you're Amazon. But there are already so many marketplaces who do B2B, who do what Amazon's trying to do. So they've already kind of captured that space, a lot of it already. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, because it is Amazon, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a done deal, right?
Oh, for sure. And you've got, piggybacking on the change thing, I look at it as, if you can embrace change, it may not be something that works, but at least you've been through it, you know it, you can understand it. And so when maybe the next iteration of that thing happens, you've got a better understanding of how to work it, what doesn't work, or at least you're just on top of it. Like, hey, you know what? I tried that thing. That didn't work very well. Something else comes out like this. I might be skeptical. And that gives you more information to, consult people on.
For sure. It's like how we were talking about integration. Same sort of idea, right? You got to try it because it might make your life easier, or it might kind of open up more doors, right? So it needs to be done.
Yeah, before we started this, I was talking about connecting Zapier and making automation work, better in my life. And there's small things like that, I think, that can make a big difference for a brand or someone who, when I think about brands, they've got a lot on their plate. They are thinking about, how are people perceiving my brand? So just overall brand story. Do we have the right story? Who really is our target consumer from a marketing perspective? Are we going after them? Are we talking from a sales perspective? Are we talking about the right buyer with the right buyers? Are we on the right marketplaces? What do our listings look like? What does our direct-to-consumer site look like? There's so many things that are going on. So any way that you can, even just most business owners, they're busy. They got a lot on their plate, and they're often, if they're a small business like myself or you, they're wearing a lot of hats. So, and honestly, I feel like it took me a while to get through this, but small business could be someone that's, doing 10, 20, 30, 40 million. Yeah. Doesn't have to really be, small. It's small compared to like the $1 billion, $100 billion companies like, the Amazons.
Right.
So when you started this offering of coaching people, it sounds like it was kind of a natural evolution, but what were some of the things that people were coming to with problems, issues, that they were saying, hey, Ofra, we need help. Can you help me?
Well, what I found was a lot of people who weren't necessarily business people. They maybe excelled at something, or they had a passion for something and they wanted to turn it into a business, which happens all the time, right? But they maybe are not as familiar with the business end of like running a business, or, and that's the number one reason why people kind of quit their business, is because they thought they were going to get into it with this love and this passion that they were going to pursue. And then it turns into business. And that's not the language they speak.
Well said. Right. Well said. Turns into business,
right? And they may not be prepared for it. So unfortunately, a lot of people shut their doors or they close their businesses because they don't want to deal with all that back end business stuff. And as a coach, I now know how to address that for somebody who has that passion and wants to do something that they want to be doing outside of just business, and more than just like that scope is just a little different. So I found that people were coming to me and asking me just a lot of questions in general. How do I start this? How do I move the needle on the business I already have? How do I turn it from like a side hustle into something that's going to be long-term and permanent and my, number one source of income?
I feel like the side hustle thing, there's maybe a misnomer about that, and maybe I feel like we kind of agree on a lot of things. Not that we have to, I'll have someone on that disagrees with me. I got people in my family disagree with me. I still love them. Not the biggest deal, but I feel like we agree on a lot of stuff. So I have a feeling that you've probably seen this as well. But the side hustle, sometimes people get the mistake of, I'm going to start, a bunch of side hustles and just see what takes off. From my experience, when I've started a business, I have had a full-time job because the thing that I was starting wasn't making money. And so I had to, or wasn't making enough money, to cover my bills. So I had this full-time job and I started, you could call it a side hustle, but really it was, I'm starting this new venture and I'm putting all my eggs in that new venture essentially to get it to grow so that it can become the main thing. But if I were just spreading myself thin, I'm trying, 5 different things and see which one sticks, you may not be fully giving it enough effort. Would you say that's fair? That's something that you've seen a lot from people when we talk about side hustles?
Yeah, you and we're just on the same page right now.
Okay, good.
You're reading my mind. So I absolutely...
We could throw down if you wanted to. I mean, that might be more exciting. I don't know.
Maybe at some point I will, but not yet. I do agree with you on this. Absolutely. Like I totally 100% believe that if you're in, you're in. And you need to be like 100% in. And that's one of the things that I as a coach, I just want to make sure that anybody I work with is in and not half in, not 1 foot out the door, not let me see what's going to happen. Let me try out this venture as well. I do find over the years, as I've met a lot of people who've had businesses, those serial entrepreneurs, God bless them. That is not an easy thing to do, to have so many things on the go. But it's really hard to put your focus and emphasis on one thing and watch that baby grow when you're trying to like spread your love all over the place, right? So I'm a big believer that you should pick one thing, be in and all in, and just like stay connected to that and stay true to it and keep nurturing it.
I always feel like it would be funny to have a cereal company and call yourself a cereal entrepreneur. I haven't done it yet. I know there's some people who own high protein cereal companies like a Magic Spoon or something. Yeah. So I don't know if they call themselves cereal entrepreneur, but I think there's maybe a potentially wasted opportunity there.
Right.
I think the other thing about serial entrepreneurs, the kind you were talking about, is they are often starting one business that goes really well. They've gotten that to a place where someone is running it. They're not doing the day-to-day. They might have overall vision. They might be the head, but someone is running that company, and that has allowed them more time to go and do something else. The people that are legit serial entrepreneurs, it's very rare, I would say, that they are actually in the day-to-day of every single business and running that. One has a different life cycle than the other.
Right. And if they have success already, sure, move on. You can definitely start at that point, you're successful. But if you're trying to find success for multiple businesses all and growing them all at the same time, that's just kind of a bit of a recipe for disaster. It just doesn't give you enough room to grow, literally and figuratively, right? Like you just can't grow that business when you're trying to grow multiple businesses.
Well, I think it's easy to lose focus. Something that part of the reason I have a coach and consultants, that I talk to, and I tell my team, I'm like, you get coaching, feedback, guidance from me because you're part of this team, and that's built in. If I want to grow and I want to get better, I have to pay someone to do that. I'm not opposed to that, and I believe in doing that. But if I want to grow, I need someone that can check me and hold me accountable and say, you know what, I think you're off base here. Maybe someone that has even more experience than me, because they can say, I've seen this happen, and that's a bad deal. Or, hey, I think that's good. Focus in, drill down there. And I honestly, the older I get, though, I want to get better. I want to grow, and I want someone to help hold me accountable. And I want to be a good student. So if someone's like, hey, you do these things, I'm going to start implementing them right away. I'm going to do them. I'm going to incorporate them. I might fumble a little bit, but I'm okay with that. I like to be out in front and trying and testing new things.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Accountable comes up a lot in my world. People definitely feel like they need somebody to be accountable to. You don't need a boss. You definitely don't need a boss. You just need somebody to, as you said, sort of check you a little bit and keep you in line and stay on top of what your goals are. So it's good that you have somebody like that.
I mean, part of that for me is, having a good partner at home. Like my wife is definitely an accountability partner for me, and there's an open conversation. I don't know that, everyone necessarily has that, but there's an open conversation of, look, I'm about to send this email off. Is this too pissy? Like I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I know I'm emotional right now.
Right.
And I can read it off, and she'll say, Yeah, you need to remove that last part.
Yeah.
Like, having a second person to edit, but there's also an opportunity for me to share and speak into. But then someone from a business perspective, I mean, my wife is super supportive. She's not an entrepreneur though. So having someone that is an entrepreneur or has that experience and can speak to that, it's helpful to have that, that combination there. And last year we were talking about focus. That's why I brought up, having it paying for a consultant. And I would highly recommend, if you guys want to hire Ofra, you should definitely pay for assistance and coaching. It is worth it if you find someone that's good. I've heard that sometimes people maybe feel like they don't get the value there. So making sure you're finding a good partner would be important. But my business coach last year, we were looking at, how do we maybe expand into different marketplaces? And he's like, I think you got shiny object syndrome. I thought about it and I was like, okay, Amazon's really the dominant player here for us. That's where we've got the most experience. Let's, throw everything else off and let's focus on that. And it's helped us a ton. It helped me to remain focused and to really put my effort towards the thing that was gonna, be the most revenue generating, but also profitable for us too.
Great. That's amazing. You've got a good coach.
Thank you.
But if you need another one in the future.
Okay. Hey, I'm not opposed to that. Like I said, I like to learn. I want to grow. I hated school, but I love learning and growing, and I'm okay. I've had to become more okay with, but just being a little bit uncomfortable and learning something new. And I imagine people you talk with all the time are, maybe there's a fear of just failure,
Imposter syndrome comes up.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah. That's definitely, because that's the primary fear, right? That they feel like they don't belong. That's not somewhere that they, it maybe isn't their space, or that they're not doing it right. So yeah, imposter syndrome comes up a lot.
And the reality is that almost everybody feels that way,
yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So if you feel like an imposter, you're in good company.
In a way, you're kind of doing it right if you feel like an imposter. You just have to keep doing it.
I mean, that is true. I mean, a lot of people, if you want to be comfortable and that's it, you can do that. But I think you're still going to experience uncomfortability and pain, because that's life. It's a broken world. Pain is a part of the world, as much as I don't want it to be. And I'm going to, hopefully fight against that. I know that it's going to be part of it, but I also don't know that the most painful experiences in my life where I've been uncomfortable, I've had to step out and do things that I'm not used to doing this, or I really failed big and it was public. Mm. Those experiences shaped me. And if someone was like, I would love to take this, from you, I would say, absolutely not. I earned that time and that knowledge about myself and what I wanted to do. And had I not done that, I would not be on the path that I'm on right now.
For sure. I almost see failure as a little bit like bullying, and people who are bullied end up being a little bit stronger and more confident as they go forward in life, because I know there's a debate on this, but I just have a feeling that that's, because you eventually grow into yourself and you become a little bit more stronger and bolder. And, so I sort of see it that way. As you said it, I was kind of putting those two together, but yeah.
I think that makes sense. And I mean, everyone's going to be bullied a little bit. Some people might be maybe bullied more intensely, but those things are going to happen. And I was talking to my team this morning, and, it was like, hey, I want to improve on this thing, but I was asking people questions and it seemed like maybe they were a little nervous. And I said, look, this is a safe place. I don't like necessarily the word safe space, because the world is not really a safe space. So, you're going to have to deal with things, but I said, this is an area where you can be comfortable. You are supported. I want us to grow. I want us to learn. And I have some feedback on these things, but it's okay to be open and share. But I felt like they needed to know, hey, it's okay to be a little bit uncomfortable and push yourself, or get the feedback, because I mean, ultimately you don't learn a ton from success. Don't get me wrong. I want to be successful. I want money in the bank. I want time. I want, opportunities. But I just think you learn a lot more from failure, because then this thing doesn't work and why didn't it work? Whereas when something's successful, it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to kind of keep swinging and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question. I have a feeling you have an answer. What is greenwashing?
Oh, okay. So here I am. I'm this business coach with this just passion for the environment too.
Are we gonna get a little controversial? If so, I'm good with that.
Um, I'll keep this simple and not super controversial, but I mean, I obviously will have my opinions because fashion was my. It's still like I still love fashion. I know that industry, and I know how polluting it is to our environment. So much damage has been done in the 20 plus years I've been in business, right? So greenwashing really, I mean, there's a couple of different definitions, but basically it's when a company, they're all sitting around the board table and they're like, oh, you know what? If we manipulate the wording of this and put it out there, then people will think we're doing right by the environment because they don't have enough knowledge to know any better. So
Mm.
that's how I like to sort of reference it is that, it's just a way that companies use to make you believe they're doing the right thing, and just make you think that something good is happening and they're doing it. But a lot of the times they're doing it because they have to. Sometimes they truly do have a passion. Like, I mean, there are some big companies who legitimately are doing it because they know it's the right thing to do. And they know that their industry has to do better. And they want to be that first company, not for ego reasons, that first company to kind of move that needle a little and get people kind of following the momentum and starting to do better, really, right? So
Just because it's like an inherent passion for them, it's something that they're very vocal about, and just something that is a part of their DNA.
exactly. So Patagonia is one of those brands, and Patagonia has been doing this for years. And the owner of Patagonia recently actually said I think they're donating a lot of their profits to help the environment, and they're not in it like they're in this for the right reasons. They're not just in it to make money. They're also in it to make money, but find ways so that both the corporate world can function and the environment can function. And there are ways of doing that.
Well, I feel like, I mean, there's now this discussion in my head of, economic systems, and people think that capitalism is bad because it's all about, profits over people. And I think you could look at any economic system and find a lot of flaws. I think you're going to find more with some than you would others, like communism. I don't think I'm probably going to find a ton of people that are going to say that that's a good system, or dictatorship. Probably some people that feel like, socialism is good. I think there's already some socialist aspects that are here in America. I mean, I know you're in Canada, but I think a lot of, anyone in North America, there's a lot of like, good social programs or things like that. But capitalism is a system. It's, you know what? If I go even a little bit deeper, people often say, money is the root of all evil. That's not actually what the Bible says. If you read that, which is where the quote's from, it's the love of money. Money is a tool. Money is a tool that allows us to buy homes, clothes, food, to help other people, to support our families. It's a tool. You can use it well. You could use it on the dark web to, purchase human trafficking, or you could use it to give to a local organization that's putting meals on families' tables that don't have enough food. It is a tool. So how the human decides to use it is whether it becomes, I think, good or bad. And that's where you could call it conscious capitalism, whatever you want to call it. But there is absolutely a way for someone to run a business, make a profit, and do good by the people. Is it the standard? Maybe not. But I think, and you're probably seeing this too, but people are changing. A ton of businesses are talking about, and whether they are really passionate about it or not, but some people are saying, hey, we're a B Corp, or we have, donate a 1% to the planet, or whatever the case might be. People are committing to these causes and literally putting their money or figuratively putting their money where their mouth is. And the consumers are changing their behavior.
Yep. As a result, I mean, you could see that happening, the Tom's movement. Oh God, I think it was a decade ago, the buy one, give one. And that was like a great movement. It started a lot of people thinking and thinking about like, oh, my purchase could actually make a change. And I think that actually was the beginning of people recognizing that they have a little bit more of an impact by the choices they make in purchasing brands, and learning a little bit, and education started. I think that's kind of kind of got the ball rolling a little bit on, just like humans and treating humans well, and like, taking care of our planet as a whole too, right?
It's really easy to look back on past generations and say, oh, they were so stupid or they were so bad or whatever the case might be. And it doesn't mean that they didn't do bad. We're going deep here. It doesn't mean that they didn't do bad things or that some of the things they did were inexcusable if it's, negative impact to the climate, whatever the case might be. But we learn as we go.
Yeah.
So, all the stuff that's happened in fashion, there are likely some, like you said, I'm sure there are people that were like, hey, how do we manipulate this and just focus on profits and do our thing? But there are, I think, also some people who realize, oh, this is no longer a good practice, so we need to move away from this. I think there are some things that people probably knew were not good practices and did anyway, but that doesn't necessarily, and you can't just say, well, this whole thing, this category is bad as a whole, because there are good actors and good players in there. So just, totally taking that person out, it's or even a brand out, like, I'm not going to buy anything from there because of whatever the case might be. I think you miss out an opportunity to find something great.
From the brand that's not making an effort. Is that what you mean?
The brand that is making an effort,
right.
You miss that opportunity to find someone that is actually cares, like, Patagonia in your example. I mean, you're not going to miss them. They're pretty well known.
Yeah.
But I think that's why people go back and purchase. They're willing to pay more money for a jacket for a couple reasons. They feel like it's a better quality material, and I believe that it likely is. I don't own Patagonia, but it's a better quality material. There are stories of someone, having a jacket for 10, 20 years, saying, returning it, and they get a refund. They don't, or they get a, replacement. No questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
That I can guarantee that person has bought more product from Patagonia because they had that kind of loyalty from the brand, and then also how they're choosing to spend their money and their focus on the environment. People are willing to invest their money in those brands because of the values there.
Right. It's like a vote, how you spend your money.
Yes, I was actually going to say that earlier, so I'm glad that you did.
Yeah, it's definitely like a process where, you get a say. And, we've been working so hard to educate people from the bottom floor. And, we talked about this before, that we're working so hard to get people to know and to learn and to understand, and the consumer. But it's the retailer really that has the biggest impact, and that has the fastest pace of changing this whole, we're coming up on Earth Week, and, all this stuff is just all happening so fast. It's one Earth Week after the next, and what's changing, So I'm a big believer that the retailers and the decision makers are the ones who have the most impact on reversing this climate crisis.
If there is something, I feel like actionable stuff is helpful, and I feel like we talk with a lot of smart people on this show. So why couldn't those people be the people to inform the retailer or the person who they know something about what the change could be? So I'm teeing this up to say, if you could tell retailers, here's like one of the most basic things that you could do that you're not doing from Ofra's book of coaching. Here's the thing that you could do that would have a better impact on the environment. What is that? There's likely a lot of things, but if there's we talk about biggest impact right up front, what's something that somebody could do?
So the first thing I would say, and I would say this is the biggest thing, your suppliers, make sure your suppliers know that you are looking for something that is more than just past greenwashing, that's like the real deal, that the supply, put some pressure on your suppliers to do the right thing and provide some sort of option that's going to be better for the environment. That would be the number one thing. So you could even see it like Ford right now. I think 90% of their cars are EVs, which is amazing. That's the type of thing.
90% of production.
That's huge, right? It's such
a
big deal. And it's amazing to see this whole movement. Everything's happening so quickly, even in the world of cars. I'd love to see that happen with retailers, to put some pressure on the big suppliers and say, listen, this isn't going to cut it anymore. We need to do better. You need to do better. And we're watching you, because now we're informed and we've been doing our research and we're not loving what's happening, and you need to do better.
There's so many terms that are out there that knowing and defining them can be really difficult. And then when you actually do some digging, you're like, that doesn't make sense. So an example for me is I love nutrition, just like reading a ton about it. Probably one of the best books that I ever read was by an investigative journalist named Gary Taubes called Good Calories, Bad Calories. It's a long read, so a long nonfiction read. So I don't know how many people are going to be into it, but it was just filled with like the past 200 years of studies on nutrition.
Oh, wow.
The stuff that we've learned in the past, maybe 30 years, there's a ton more behind it that we actually have already known that people have not dug deep enough into. And that's what Gary does. I wish I knew Gary personally. He just such a cool dude, but it was a very, I don't know what his political beliefs are. It was a very unbiased read because he looked at what's the trail of the money, what's the trail of, the trail of, trail of money, trail of studies, who was in charge of what. And he looked at and broke down a lot of the things that were happening behind the scenes. And he didn't play favorites with certain politicians or anything like that. It was just, what are the facts? But he provided a ton of information on just nutrition. And when you look at words like organic, what does organic mean? It has to be, about 70 or I think it's 50% organic to be considered organic. I could be off on that. And then USDA organic is like 75 or 80%. So it's not fully organic. And then if you also look at, is organic really the best, or maybe would buying local actually be best? If you think about doing things locally, you're supporting your local economy, less emissions into the environment. So you're keeping things really local. I know that's not the world that we live in, but if you could do that, that could be really best. So there's so many terms. It's a lot for people to weed out and even know, oh, this is clean, this is safe. What is that? What does that stuff even mean?
Yeah. Those words are abused, that everybody throws them around. A color usually goes with it. It's usually green, so it's definitely, it's like abusive marketing in a way, right? That they just throw out these jargon terms and just assume that everyone's going to know. And if they don't know, that's almost in a way its own form of kind of greenwashing, right? Like organic is technically organic, as I was taught it as a kid, meant once living. And now look what it's become. We talk about it.
Yeah, a desk is organic, right?
Yeah.
Organic material.
Organic traffic to your website. It's amazing the way that this term organic has evolved over time. It's just the word itself is no longer organic.
Man, that is there. I feel like there's just so much there. If you could advise consumers now on what's the easiest way to call BS on someone who is greenwashing, like how do you know if someone wants to be an informed consumer? It may not be everyone, but if someone wants to be informed, they care about the climate, how do they know, okay, this person means what they say or they don't mean what they say?
I would advise the consumer, one, to do a little bit of research. And I don't mean a lot of research. I mean surface level research, to just, scour the internet, reliable sources, get some basic information. If something doesn't seem right to you, call them out on social media. Social media is definitely a place. It's embarrassing for a brand to be called out.
Yep.
And if they're doing something that's not right and they don't respond back to you, that's probably because they don't have an answer, or they're not doing what they said they're doing. So, and oftentimes if they respond back and they have a very detailed explanation of what they're doing, then they're probably following the rules, or they're really standing by what they say they're doing. So, or they're making you believe they are. But I think that's the best place to start if you're a consumer and you really want to, just make sure that it's all legit, is probably take it to social media and, go on a post or something and say, how is it possible that la, 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 and just call them out a little.
Any specific network that you recommend? Any social network?
Well, I think Twitter's probably great for that. I also think Instagram, I think, is also a great space for that too. It's wherever they have a good population and there's a lot of followers and they want to protect it, they'll protect it, and they're probably active in that space, and they're going to be responding because they don't want people to see it.
Twitter seems like, you can talk at people and they get notified, and there's, threads that can happen. And I can vouch that for any person that is sold on Amazon and has had any kind of product issue, suspension issue for their account, they go on Twitter, they tweet to Amazon seller help, they get a response. They tweet to the VP of of sellers or like North America operations, they get a response. So if that I will verify that. And the other thing I was going to say is when my wife and I built our home, our whole backyard, we got drainage. We were like at the bottom of a hill. So we got drainage from everybody else,
Right.
and it washed out all the seed and straw that was in our yard. And so it was just, mud. And I called them. I took pictures and I posted it on Facebook because I was still using Facebook, and it still was seemed like a viable channel. And they definitely got back to us.
Great.
After that,
Yeah.
which is good. I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I want my yard fixed, please.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the best way these days, it seems like, because an email is not cutting it. You send the company an email, and their chances are they're going to send you back some blanket email that they send to everybody, that's not really going to mean much to you.
Thank you, dear sir or ma'am. We appreciate your feedback. We will take this into consideration.
Classic.
Classic. So, Ofra, you have a special Ofra for people. I hope that was okay.
Yeah.
For your coaching business, Coach My Business, what is that offer that you want to extend to the Longer Game listeners today? Tell them about that and tell them how they go about activating that.
For sure. Thanks, Michael. So it's coachmybusiness.ca. That's my website because I'm based in Canada, and I'm gathering some information, and I'm trying to get a strong sample size of retail audits. I'm conducting these retail audits of businesses. I could do it virtually as well, but I'm happy to open this up to your listeners where I offer 50% off just because I'm trying to gather some data right now. So if anybody is interested in getting a retail audit of their space, as I said, I could do this virtually, but it really is like a big snapshot of everything that you could potentially do better in your retail space. And, I think there's so much talk about online, and it's so easy to get lost online, and everybody kind of forgets about brick and mortar, but brick and mortar is absolutely not dead. And I know we spoke about that before too. There's so much opportunity there if you do it right and you adapt and you integrate and do all those things that you need to do to move forward. And I think a lot of businesses maybe could use a little bit of assistance there. So this retail audit is exactly for that reason. And it deep dives a little bit if you want into your finances as well. So I am offering 50% off. All you need to do is just go to my website, coachmybusiness.ca, and just send me a message and say, I heard you or I downloaded the podcast, and I'd love to take advantage of this retail audit.
All right. So coachmybusiness.ca, let Ofra know, hey, I heard you on the Longer Game with Michael. Would love to take you up on that retail audit. And I will say, if anyone's willing to give you some advice on financials, I know that can feel like, opening up the skirt a little bit or the pants, whatever. Do it, because it's better to find out from someone than to just hide it yourself and think, I have no clue what's going on. I get advice from people on my books, my accountant, my bookkeeper. We have a fractional CFO as well. So having those people be involved, I would highly recommend people take you up on that. So if people want to find you, I think this is a great place to end, although I think we could probably have a much longer conversation. If people want to find you, Ofra, they want to know more about what you're doing, other than coachmybusiness.ca, where could they find you? Should they look in like a boardroom of a big company where they're talking about marketing terms and you're just like hiding like, hey, I can see what you guys are talking about and that's not legit? Or is there somewhere else they should look?
I think the best place to find me is on my website or on my social media. So I'm on TikTok.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm on TikTok because I know there's a lot of young people who are starting businesses too, and there's they use that as a search engine, which is so interesting to me. And I'm also on Instagram, so coachmybusiness.ca on both those platforms. So you can just find me there at that handle and send me a message or give me a follow and follow along with the videos I do. I love to do informative videos, little snippets of information here and there, so you can follow and just kind of use it as free learning.
Cool. And if you gave us your socials, which I'm pretty sure you did, we will include those in this video if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, rather. Links to find Ofra on her website for sure, and maybe other social channels will be there. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, I loved it. Thanks so much, Michael.
If you are a brand and you are struggling because there's a lot going on, guess what? You're in good company. You might feel like you have imposter syndrome. It's probably a lot of us. I know sometimes I have to watch my time on social media or just, guard myself because I'm like, I'm just seeing the front end of what everyone's doing and it looks so great. And, I don't feel so great about myself. But hey, retail is difficult. It changes often. If you are on this journey, find support in a community. that can wrap around you and get yourself a good visor. Good visor and a good advisor. I don't know, whichever one you pick. But that's it. That's the longer game. We're out. All right, that was the show. What did you think? That was the longer game. We would love for you to share the show with other people and to leave us a review of the show. So go to iTunes, go to Spotify, you can go to YouTube, comment, leave a review, and share this on any social channels that you are active on and wherever you have influence. We want to share this story and stories like it to as many people as possible. Do you have a compelling story and do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it and you're in the retail industry? Then go to thelongergame.com, fill out a form, and we will contact you about coming on the show. You can find us on any social channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and you can go to our website, thelongergame.com, to actually read all of these episodes in blog form in text, because we know not everyone's going to listen. This podcast is brought to you by my agency, Cartology. We are a customized, done-for-you service agency that helps brands win on Amazon. It is super complex selling on the Amazon Marketplace. We help simplify that for you. This podcast is also brought to you by Podcastify Me. They are a full-service podcast production company that designs podcasts around people who are paid for their advice. That is coaches. If you want someone to help create, strategize, and distribute your podcast to the masses, go to podcastify.me to find out more. I've so enjoyed that you've been a part of the conversation and that you've given of your time to hear these people's stories. We'd love for you to share. If you want to find out more, just go to thelongergame.com. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed. And until next time, cheers.